certain tests that they can run and swab. They're going to know where to look for these, fluids in the swab and, what to take samples of. That they're going to have a better chance of finding evidence than you would if you're not trained in that.
Now, if your friend's scared to go to officials, like the hospital or police, and she trusts you or he trusts you, and they want you to look at her, what are some of the things you can look for?
Wow, way to stump me with the hard question of the night. You look for bruises around the neck, around the wrist, the ankles, like around the hip and the pubic area. Look for cuts and bruises inside, whether it's a guy or girl, depending. Even in their mouth, maybe if they have a forced to do oral, we would look for stuff in their mouth. You're probably not going to be able to tell if there's any of the perpetrator's fluids unless you know what you're looking for. I mean, I would have no idea what the difference is. I'm not trained in that. Just because you go to the hospital doesn't mean you have to report it to the police. I mean, they'll question you, but it doesn't mean you have to say anything. You can call the YWCA to come and we can't report it. You can tell me, this is who did it, this is where it was, this is what happened, and I'll sit there and be like, okay. And when the officers come up to me, well, what did she say, or what did he say happened? I can't confirm or deny anything.
Right. Are there private medical services that will check you out without having it in the hospital?
Are there?
Like is there a clinic in the YWCA or?
No, we don't have a medical clinic.
Or do you know any place like that?
You might be able to do like a regular, a clinic that's open longer than hospital hours. Our advice though is, because the thing is that rape is traumatizing not only emotionally but physically, and the thing is that you can have a lot of internal injuries that you don't even know about. That's why we say, because when you go to the ER and you say I've been sexually assaulted, they don't just look to see, okay, where did the sex happen, where did the rape occur. They make sure that there's no other injuries.
Right.
Especially if the perpetrator used physical force to subdue their victim. They could have bruising, they could have, any number of things could happen inside. We don't realize our bodies are fragile in a lot of areas, and I see victims all the time where they were thrown down by their partner and they end up with a fractured, leg in like 4 different areas. And you think, I fall all the time, I've never broken my leg. But depending on how they did it, that's why my best advice, go to the hospital. Because they're trained, they're going to know what to look for and make sure that there's nothing going on inside that can get worse. As far as a medical clinic or an examiner that's not a hospital, I don't know of any. There could be. I haven't been told of any. We're always told, Harrisburg Hospital, Holy Spirit, Hershey Med. Hershey Med, they have a separate room that they'll take you in. It's just to do the safe exams. I don't think Harrisburg Hospital, I think it's just a regular exam room. Okay. Is there any other questions? So I want to give you what the definition of consent is, because when I do this in high schools, I get the giggles, of course, and what if you start doing it and all of a sudden they decide no? In the middle of it they say no, stop. Well then stop. Don't keep doing it would be my response. Like, oh, yeah, I guess that, but that's no fun. And I'm like, okay, so what would you rather, have rape hanging over your head or one lonely night? Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense. So just to clear what exactly consent is. Consent, by definition, means permission for something to happen or agreement to do something. Consent is more than yes or no. It is a dialogue about desires, needs, and level of comfort with different sexual interactions. Healthy sexual interactions are rooted in consent and respect. So I read that to someone and they were like, it's like you have to sign a contract before you can, have sex with someone. Well, yeah, kind of it is. There's this YouTube video that is hilarious. It's these 2 college kids and they're laying on her bed and they're talking and they're flirting, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, well wait, do you have it? And he's like, yeah, I got it. So you think he's gonna grab a condom. Instead, he grabs this like huge stack of papers, right? And goes, have you ever seen this before? And she goes, well, it's a consent form, right? And he goes, yeah, that's what it is. And she goes, well, I think I better have my lawyer look over it. He's like, all right, that's fine. So sitting behind her is her lawyer, sitting behind him is his lawyer. They start bantering back and forth. Okay, is foreplay okay? Yeah, foreplay's a must. All right, we'll check this off. Is removal of the bra with the teeth okay? Yes, that's okay. All right, how about oral? Well, do 5. Well, he wants 10. Well, she's going to do 5, but wants it returned. I mean, they go on and on and on. Explicit details of, foreplay, what to do during sex, and what to do after. It's like a 15-minute video, and they're just talking about all this, and they say, all right, well, I think we're good now. So you sign this, and all right, we're in agreement. So this is all good. They sign their contracts and they put it away, and they're like, okay, great. This girl walks in and she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you guys. Unless you want me to grab my contract. He's like, oh, maybe. And the girl that's laying next to him is like, are you kidding me? Like, not part of the contract, So it's hilarious. And if you think about it, that's what you're doing before you consent to something. All right, I'm okay with this, but I don't want to go this far. And if you ask me to do this, I'm saying no. That makes me uncomfortable. Or we can do this in our relationship, but I don't want to go all the way yet. Or we can do this, but this is unacceptable. And that's what you have to do. The thing is that nobody can read your mind. And if you are honest about what you want and what you expect out of it, your partner could try a whole lot of things that you're like, no, I don't want to do this. You should never be afraid to say no. Or stop, I don't like that, that makes me uncomfortable. And in a healthy relationship, your partner's going to stop. They're not going to keep pressuring you to do it. But, all right, fine, whatever makes you comfortable. I don't want to make you uncomfortable with it. In an unhealthy relationship, they're just going to keep pressuring you and pressuring you to do it. And asking, well, is this okay? Is that okay? See, these are all things that go around not only sex, but rape is. I know when we had, for me at least, when I was in high school, we had sex ed, they didn't talk about all this. I really didn't know what was okay and what was not. To me, if you said yes, that was consent. You couldn't change your mind. Once you said yes, then you were done. I never really thought about the fact that there are a lot of male victims out there. They just don't report it. There's only 3% that report it, and we put that number so much higher. The thing is that there's still such a stigma attached to a guy who's been raped, and that's awful. Because there shouldn't be. Anyone is able to be raped. Male, female, young, old, child, teenager, adult. It doesn't matter. In a relationship, out of a relationship, religion doesn't matter, sexual orientation doesn't matter. Anyone can be a victim of rape. And the more that we talk about it, the more that victims can realize, all right, I have a safe place to go that I can talk to. I have someone that I'm able to talk to. There's so much information on the internet. We're in a great area, we're in Harrisburg. We have so many resources just at our fingertips here that we can find, okay, so this is what I'm going to do now that I've been a victim. And you shouldn't be ashamed. I'm not going to tell you that, okay, you've been a victim of sexual assault and nobody's going to judge you. There are people out there that it doesn't matter. And things are going to come out of the mouth. What were you wearing? Well, what were you doing? Are you sure you said no? Did it really happen? Those things are going to happen, and they shouldn't. But it should not deter you from reporting it. When I do body rights for little kids, good touch, bad touch, I tell them, look, if you tell one adult and that adult doesn't believe you, what should you do? And they'll look at me, tell another adult. And if they don't believe you, you tell another adult. And you keep telling someone until someone finally listens to you. You just keep telling people, look, this is what happened to me. I need help. I want help. How do I get the help? It shouldn't matter how long ago it happened. The statute of limitations has changed in PA. I don't remember. I think it's 12 years. I don't remember. I think it's like 12 years that if you've been raped, you have 12 years to report it unless you are a minor. And in which case there is no statute of limitations. It used to be 2. So we've come a long way as far as accepting victims and wanting to get victims help. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, or SAM. The YWCA does a lot with that. I'm working on, we have a senators meeting that we go to. So it's not like this, subject is so hush-hush anymore. It's a big thing that's happening all the time. I mean, it happens every day to everyone, and it happens to people right next door, which is a scary thing. And what's even worse is that there aren't enough support groups out there. People don't talk about it, and you should talk about it. I mean, it shouldn't be a taboo subject anymore. Consent is what it is. Sex is what it is. Rape is what it is. Not talking about it is not going to make it go away. And acting like it can't happen to you isn't going to change anything. There's a huge number of things that you can do to help prevent yourself from being a victim of rape. The buddy system. As juvenile as that sounds, there's strength in numbers. I mean, we've all heard that before, right? Well, that doesn't change. If you're walking out somewhere